questions about the whole hospital if you guys have any other questions about that later. All right. This is my daughter over here. She's going to be my clicker tonight. So our agenda for the brief discussion we're going to have is about the application, the resume, interview, and then starting your new job. Just a little tidbit, not to toot our own horn or anything, but just to tell you how busy we are, because we often meet people in the community and they're like, I applied to Chance and I never heard anything. Yeah, that's not unusual. Last fiscal year at Chance Human Resources, we received approximately 95,000 external applications and 21,000 internal applications for 2,262 job postings. That's all across the hospital. Okay, that's not just him, but that's all across the hospital. We processed a little over 1,600 external hires and almost 1,200 internal transfers. Okay. And there's about 10 of us that do all that work. All right, so a couple of things about your application. Whether it is a paper application, which are rare these days, or an online application, you want to make sure you fill out your application completely, okay? Don't leave a lot of blanks. If it's truly not applicable, you can put NA there, okay? When we see blanks, we're like, did they forget? Did they not complete it? We're not sure what's going on. You always want to make sure you use the correct punctuation, okay? Capitalization, all of those things are important. Do not use the cap locks. I did here, but that's just part of the way this thing came out, and PowerPoint is not my strong point, but I did it, so I was happy. Don't use abbreviations. Spell things out. Who wants to take a guess at what PTA stands for?
Physical therapy assistant?
Could be, or it could be Parent-Teacher Association, you know, well, I'm not sure. So make sure you don't use abbreviations. Make sure you have a professional email address. Email addresses are free. There is no reason to use a non-professional email address, okay? And make sure your voicemails on your phones are somewhat pleasant, okay? I have some of my coworkers who, when they hear a phone, when the phone rings, and if they pick it up and it's this loud, blaring music, they hang up and move on to the next applicant because they don't want to hear it, okay? Make sure that you use accurate dates, okay? Sometimes we'll look at the dates and the dates will be wrong. If they don't match your resume, it raises another red flag, so make sure that you always use your accurate dates. You want to list your education and licensure correctly, okay? You want to make sure that you give us all the information we need to make sure that you're qualified for that position, okay? You want to list your work history. You want to put your current or your last one first and go all the way to your first job or go down the line. If you don't have any work history, then you want to list any clubs and or volunteer experiences that you have, okay? You have life skills that will transfer to work skills, even if you don't have a work history, okay? Give accurate information, phone numbers, managers' names, your duties, etc. You want to make sure that you give all the information. I had a young lady that I was working with the other day, and she typed her phone number incorrectly on her application. So I was trying to call her, and finally she called me, and I was like, oh, I've been trying to call you. So make it easy on us because we'll go to the next person because we have so many applicants. You want to make sure that you're honest because we do background checks, and we are not the only employer that will do a background check in this area. And when I mean background checks, it's we do Florida Department of Law Enforcement, we do the clerk of court, we check your references, we also call your former and current employers to get a reference if we can. We make sure everything adds up because ultimately we are letting you come into our organization and we have to protect our patients first and foremost. Okay? You want to sign or acknowledge your application. It's considered a legal document. Okay, so you want to make sure that you acknowledge that at the end. Any questions so far about that? resume. Do you want to do a resume if you do an application? You can. It always adds more information. Okay. Your resume represents you. Okay. So you want to tell me a little bit about you in your resume. Okay. It should be clear and concise document that immediately presents an accurate picture of your skills and abilities. Okay. So you want to tell me that you meet the minimum requirements for the job that I'm trying to fill. Okay. Make it easy for the reader to know you meet the qualifications for the position. You want to keep your resume 1 to 2 pages. You want to use action verbs, like I coordinated this event. I developed this process. I use these softwares. Okay. You want to aim for 4 or 5 bullets per job. Okay. If you use past or present tense. If it's your current job, you use the present tense. If it's a past job, you use the past tense. Again, this is attention to detail that seems small, but when I've got managers looking through applications and you're going to represent them in something you send out in an email or a memo, they want to make sure you know you get it. Okay? You want to double and triple check for spelling. Okay? And any punctuation, all that stuff. You want to review for grammar and word blunders. Okay? I'm sure nobody is a rapid typist. I'm sure they're a rapid typist, but word spell check doesn't catch that, because it's spelled correctly. All right? Make it easy on the eyes. You want to have a nice font that's easy to read, nothing that's too curvy or anything like that. You want to be specific in your job duties. Okay? You want to focus on any unique or skills and talents that you have. If you know how to use a one-of-a-kind software program, then tell us that. It may be applicable to something we're looking for. You want to list your job duties, even if it's common knowledge. Well, I'm a PCA. Well, what does a PCA do? Well, they take care of patients. Well, specifically, do you empty bedpans? Tell me all the things that you do, because I may be looking for certain specific things that you may have that they're needing, and if you don't tell me that, I don't know that you have it. Okay. Highlight your accomplishments with concrete evidence. Awarded Employee of the Month, June 2016. Save the department $2,000 annually by recommending alternative process for patients with latex allergies. So you want to tell me certain things that you've done so that I know that you've done them. Okay. All right, there's 2 types of resume styles that you typically see. One is chronological. It's the most popular, and it's kind of like a career summary, and you want to start with the most recent or the current. There's also a functional resume, which is a little bit different, and I have examples of both. I'm going to show you in just a minute. Who should use a functional resume versus a chronological resume? Someone who has some gaps in work history for whatever reason, whether you took time off to go to school, whether you took time off to travel, whether you're having kids, it doesn't matter. If you've got some work history gaps, that might be a good thing for you to use. Okay? If you're re-entering the workforce after you've raised your kids, if you have frequent job changes, okay, if you can't find what you want to do and you get into something that you like, or you're transitioning into a new career, okay, that may be a good choice for you over the chronological. Okay. So this is a chronological resume. Starts at the top with the objective and the summary of her qualifications, and then it goes into her current job, and then it goes down a couple of more jobs, and then it talks about her education. Okay. So this would be a chronological resume. This is a functional resume. It's a little bit different. It talks about an objective, qualifications, some key credentials that this person has, and then experience and summary is kind of the bulk of where she's talking about her experience, and then she just lists down at the bottom just a little bit about her employers, but she does list it down there. Okay. So that's kind of a little difference between a functional and a chronological resume. Objective statement. Do you need one? It depends. If you're applying to a company to work there for the first time, you might want to put one on there. But if you're applying for a transfer within the company, you probably don't need one. Okay. If you have an objective statement, you want to use one that's precise, concise, and it indicates a professional interest. Okay. And it's specific to the job you're applying for. I would like to have a challenging position within UF Health Shands, for example. I would like to be able to use my skills and talents in the healthcare setting. Okay. So just a little vague there, but if you're applying for multiple positions within the same company, those may be a little bit vague enough to get you in the door. Okay, but if you're applying for a specific position, like a PCA, then you can apply for multiple PCAs and put something in there like, I would like to have a challenging PCA position within the UF Health Shands. Okay. Next. Education. All right, you always want to include the education on your resume and or application. You want to list your high school, any certificates or VOTEC schooling that you've done. Okay. If you have some kind of certificate from your vocational or technical, like a CNA or an LPN, or I know you guys have your CPCs and your HIM and all that stuff. I'm still learning all this alphabet. Okay. If you have a degree, whether it's an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, or a master's degree, you want to list your degree, including what it is, if it's a bachelor's of science, where you got it, and the date you graduated. Okay. If you haven't finished your degree, let me know that. I'm attending the University of Florida, or I attended the University of Florida, past versus present. Okay. When you attended and you completed so many course hours. Okay.
We don't have to put the address for the university. We don't have to do that for that.
No, because most of them are common knowledge. If it's not something that's local, you may want to just give us the
And
city.
even like where we worked before, we don't have to put the address too.
Not the physical address.
Do we have to put our GPA next to our degree, or is not necessary?
We don't care about your GPA. Some companies may, but we don't. So this is all specific to what I've been doing the last 15 years or so. So just remember that. Okay, next. Your work history. You want to start with your most current job and put the title and the month and year that you started to either current or present or something along those lines so that I know that you're still there. If you have left that job, give me the date that you left. Okay. I'm a physician assistant. I've been there since April 2009 to present. Okay. List your work history in chronological order, beginning month, year to ending month and year, and then your job duties under there. Okay. If you've had any military service, you want to list your highest rank, your years of service, any specialties you have, and any accommodations or awards that you've received. Okay. I have some managers that will interview just about anyone I send them that has got military service, because they know that that person has learned how to get up on time, report to work on time, knows what to do, and so if you've got military service, you definitely want to take advantage of that. Job duties and experience. Okay, you want to review your work history, your work experience to include essential elements of your position. Now this is something that you should really think hard about, because I go into work every day and I do a lot of the same things every day, but there are some days that I do something that I only do once in a while. I make job offers, I process all the paperwork, and again, I do all kinds of things all day. It's hard for me to tell you right now on the spot. So you want to think about these things as you're trying to develop your resume. Okay. So you want to include any special skills, tasks, or duties. Okay. You want to list any software programs which you are proficient. I can use PowerPoint, but you notice there's nothing fancy on this PowerPoint presentation. There's no fading, there's no coming in, there's no going black out, but I was able to put this together, but it's not a thing thing that I do all the time. So if it's something that you're proficient in, make sure you tell me that, okay? Excel. You can either, there are people that can really get into Excel and they can make charts and graphs and what if things, and then there are people like me who I can get in, I can tell it how to summarize a column, and I can tell how to sort, but that's about all I do in Excel. So make sure you tell me what you can do in those programs if there's something that it's either this or that you can do, because some of those programs it's wide ranging, and if I need somebody who can make charts and stuff like that in Excel, I want somebody to know how to do that. List any certificates and or license, medical assistant certificate, the license number MA1234 expires May 2017. If it's not a common knowledge place that's issued your license, you should probably put it on there because we have to verify your license or your certificate. Okay. Now, like the Florida Board of Nursing or Florida Department of Health, we know that that's pretty common. So if it's one that's common, you don't have to put it on there. All right, so you've done your application, you've done your resume, and now you're on to the interview. Okay. They called you up, you're all excited. You want to confirm who you're meeting with and where you're meeting, and you want to get a phone number. Okay? Because all the time our receptionist gets a call and says, so-and-so called me and I'm meeting her today. Okay, where are you meeting? I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure either. I wasn't part of the conversation. Or Jennifer called me and said we were meeting today. Well, there's so many Jennifers at Shands that it could be me or it could be somebody in the department. There is another Jennifer Mohr in Shands, but she's the lactation consultant. So if you go see her, it's probably not the right person. She spells her name just a little bit differently. You want to learn something about the company, okay? You've got time, the internet, there's all kinds of stuff you can learn about a company. If it's a small company, try and learn a few things. If it's a big company, at least check out their website. Okay? You want to arrive early, but no more than 10 minutes early. And remember, your interview begins the minute you walk in the door. If you're rude to my receptionist, she's going to tell me, and then it's going to be bad for you because you've already got 2 strikes against you. Okay. Dress professionally. It's better to overdress than underdress. Okay. These things are common knowledge, you would think, but believe it or not, these things have happened to me, my managers, and my coworkers. Okay. You want to have a clean body. You want to make sure that if you have facial hair, it's trimmed and shaved and/or. Moderate makeup. You want to brush your teeth and brush your hair. You want to make sure you have appropriate and clean clothes on. No shorts, no t-shirts, cutoffs, or mini skirts. No unmentionables showing. Okay. Comfortable but appropriate shoes. When you find your interview outfit, you want to walk around in it. You want to sit down in it because I had a young lady years ago who walked in, she was dressed to the nines, she sat down, and out popped her red thumb. Okay? She looked good until she sat down. And then we were kind of like, okay, wait a minute. So make sure that you walk around in your outfit. You sit down in your outfit. Okay? You want to cover any tattoos and or piercings until you know the policy of the company. In our FGP clinics, they have very specific policy on tattoos and piercings. Okay. You want to be friendly. You want to thank the interviewer for their time. Look them in the eye. Use a firm handshake. Watch your body language and voice tone. And make sure you use the interviewer's name. Okay. You should know it because you should have wrote it down. Okay. Bring a resume. Always bring a resume because they may not have a copy of your resume and you can always give it to them. It shows you're prepared. Okay. Listen to the interviewer as they explain the job. Okay. Answer questions truthfully. Be honest about your abilities. If you can't make charts and graphs in Excel, tell them you can't make charts and graphs in Excel. Okay. Speak positively about your past employers, teachers, and others. The other day we had to interview for a position on our staff. We had someone in there who talked nothing but negative about her past job. That's not somebody we want in our environment. Okay? We have a very good group. Believe it or not, it's all women. There's about 15 of us that work together, and we all get along. So we're not going to bring somebody into our group, no matter what kind of skills and abilities you have, that's only going to talk negative about anybody and everything. Okay? It just is not going to happen. Be prepared to answer a few tough questions. Okay? At Shands, we use a lot of behavior-based questions, which are things like, tell me about a time you had a disagreement with your coworker. How did you work that out? We want specific examples. We want you to think about it and say, well, there was this time where Sally and I, we kind of got in an argument because she didn't really want to cover the front desk and it was her turn. So tell me how you worked that out. Okay? All right. When the interview asks you if you have any questions, have a few questions ready in your back pocket, even if they didn't answer most of your questions. There are some things that you can answer, like, what's the dress code? Okay. What is the shift and the hours? Is there an orientation process? Okay. Who would be my direct supervisor? Is it the person who's interviewing you, or is it somebody else? Where do I park? That's always a big one around our organization. Where do I park and how much do I pay for it? Okay. So have a few questions ready. Don't say, no, I don't have any. You should have some. Okay? All right. Thank the interviewer again for the interviewer and tell them if you want the job. I'd really like to work here. This seems like a great organization. This is a great department. You guys get along really good. Okay? Have reference information if it's asked for. So 2 things you're going to bring with you, your resume and your reference information. Okay? And send a thank you note. We get so few thank you notes that we really make note of the ones that we do get. Okay? Personal story. A couple of years ago, I was looking for a part-time job, and when the Lowe's on Alachua opened, I went and I interviewed with that group, and I interviewed with Jeff, dropped him off a thank you note. About a year or so later, he told me later, he said, you were in the maybe pile, but when I got your thank you note, you went to the yes pile. Okay? So send a thank you note. All right, so you've got a new job. You're ready to start. Make sure you report to work on time. That's a big one. Report every day that you're scheduled. That's another big one. Listen and ask questions. If you truly have questions about what you're supposed to be doing, ask those questions. Don't assume that we know, or we don't, when you don't ask questions, we assume that you know what you're doing. So if you don't know what you're doing, tell us you don't know what you're doing. Get clarification if needed. Again, ask those questions. Know your work expectations. Okay? Again, you need to ask these things if you don't know what they are. Take note of your work duties. We're always training people, it seems like, in our office, and if they're not taking note, it kind of throws up a red flag, because I'm telling you this information because you're going to need to remember it, and if you're not taking notes, unless you've got a voice memory, you're not going to remember all these things. Make sure you keep busy in your new job. And you want to be able to accept feedback, because ultimately the people that are there have been there longer than you, and they know what the job is. So if you're doing it wrong, they're going to tell you that. Okay? And you always want to have a positive attitude. Any questions? That's all I have. And I'm right on time. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. How do you learn how to negotiate a salary? Because in school, we don't learn how to negotiate. You go on Indeed and you go on Monster and you kind of do an average, but how do you go back and forth with your employer?
Okay, salary is an interesting piece, because when you come to us, and this may be different in different organizations, we're always going to give you the best offer that we can, because we like to be fair and equitable. So we've already got a system in place that says, with this many years of experience, you get paid this. You can ask. We can tell you no. Sometimes for harder to recruit positions, we do come back with a counteroffer if we're not bringing you in higher than one of our current employees, because we're always cognizant of that. And again, this is just Shands Healthcare. It may be different with different organizations, but I will tell you, you have to be careful with Monster and those type of things, because a lot of that data is self-reported, meaning if I get a survey and I say, oh, I don't know, I don't remember what my yearly salary is, I think it's $75,000. Does that include overtime? Does that include any shift differential? Does that include any mileage I get reimbursed? So when people self-report, it kind of skews those reports because they're, oh, I think it's like 75,000, when really it may only be 70. So you got to be careful with Monster and those type of things. And Gainesville is a lot different than Orlando, Jacksonville, Tampa, as far as pay goes. So if you're looking for jobs there, the salary is going to be different there than it will be here. But if you want more, ask for more. It doesn't hurt. So you don't get what you want for it once you want unless you ask.
Is it possible to get like a copy of the PowerPoint, like via email or something?
I'm recording this because we're going to present this as well at our Jacksonville Student Forum, and I am going to post it on the Northeast NEFHIMA website at a later point in time. So you guys can go back and go out to the website and view it anytime you want.
Okay.
And I sent you the PowerPoint presentation, so you can...
Okay, and I guess I do have the test. I haven't seen it, but I will...
It's
I
fine.
do have a little question. When we're first starting out, I mean, I don't know, everyone else has been in healthcare, but I've never worked in healthcare, so this is so totally different than what I've been doing for a long time. And, you know, if I get into those kind of interviews, I mean, how am I going to be different? I mean, obviously they're going to look at someone that already has the experience of the healthcare, so can you give any suggestions on how to maybe get your feet wet a little bit, or what maybe some things that you can be doing to get the experience that maybe you're going to be, like, people are going to be looking for, they're going to be hiring?
Okay, a couple of things come to mind. One is do your research on the company so that you, even though you don't have healthcare, you've got some knowledge of how kind of healthcare works.
Correct.
And you've got your schooling, so that's hopefully you've learned how the process works as far as the coding, the billing, and the insurance payments and all that stuff. So you've got that. You can always volunteer. I mean, everybody lives busy lives, but if you can volunteer, that's a way to get some healthcare experience. Because the thing with healthcare is there's so much protected information there
Right.
that you have to be careful with that. There's also, I mean, everything I do is confidential, and, I deal with social security numbers, date of birth, and all that stuff. But that's just part of healthcare, because there's also the patient side that's confidential. So if you can volunteer, that's great. Come to these type of things, come to your association meetings, because it shows that you're trying to learn, you're trying to get your foot in the door, and just because you don't have healthcare doesn't mean anything. We will hire people all the time.
Okay, I was just
that
kind of
have
curious
no
about that.
healthcare
Okay.
experience.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Concerns, comments? Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.